TIFU by telling my parents I was gay to avoid their arranged marriage proposals. So I'm pretty straight, maybe slightly bi if we count femboys. Let's get that out of the way first. I'm also an Indian American male around 26 years of age. I'd also like to clear up some misconceptions about arranged marriage. A lot of non-Indians seem to think it's literally your parents choose who you marry and that's that. But that's not really the case. Instead, it's more like your parents tap their network to find potential partners for you. If you like each other's pics, then you guys meet in person and then you decide whether or not you want to get married. So basically your parents are Tinder and you get a meeting or two to decide whether or not you want to get married. It's not quite as bad as many of you think it is, but the whole process feels super rushed and I'd rather date someone before I figure out if we're compatible or not anyway. My parents have recently been getting on my case about getting married. Apparently, I'm getting older and need to settle down and give them grandchildren or something like that. Basically, every time I see them, which is fairly often since they live close by, they have a new potential match for me, a picture of some new girl, and ask me if I'd be willing to meet her. It's honestly super annoying, but I'm too non-confrontational to really put my foot down and say I don't want an arranged marriage. After all, if I do, there'd be an argument or at minimum some interrogation about why I don't want one. Anyway, I was thinking of ways I could get them to stop harassing me about getting married, and the idea and the title popped up in my head. I decided it'd be a lot easier to just come out as gay than to explain why I didn't want an arranged marriage. My parents were fairly conservative but weren't the types to disown their kids, and if I just said I was gay I'd have a solid reason to not get an arranged marriage. I didn't like girls. So that's what I ended up doing last time I was visiting. They were showing me pictures of some girl and I just looked them in the eyes and said, "Mom, Dad, I'm gay." They got really quiet and awkward and asked me if I was sure, and I said yes. My mom told me they'd love me no matter what and to do what makes me happy. My dad was a lot more awkward and quiet but later gave me a similar talk about how he was a bit uncomfortable with the idea, but recognized that times are changing and I should do what makes me happy. Overall I did feel kinda bad because of how genuinely my parents seemed to respond to me, but was happy with the result. They stopped giving me arranged marriage proposals and stopped showing me pictures of girls. That is until last weekend. I visited them as usual and was greeted by my mom, who was more excited than usual. She sat me down and pulled out a binder with a bunch of pictures of guys. Apparently, my parents had spent the last month or so looking for any and all gay Hindu Indian men who I could potentially marry. So now I guess I'm dealing with the exact same shit, but instead of being greeted with pictures of cute Indian girls, I get to see pictures of gay Indian dudes instead. Fuck my life lol at this point. The plan is to either find a girlfriend and tell my parents she totally turned me straight, or maybe marry a twink or something. I don't know. Update, 21 days later. I have an update for you guys. I read all the comments on the original post, from the people telling me to just tell my parents, questioning whether or not I was really straight, laughing at the admittedly fairly funny situation I'd gotten myself into, and a couple of people who were straight up mean. At the end of the day though, posting here probably gave me the final push to do something. The weekend after I'd made the post, I visited my parents as always and resolved myself to tell them the truth. However, when I got there my mom as always pushed the binder in my hands and I kinda lost my resolve to tell her. I decided to just play along. It was then that I remembered the people on this thread who made fun of me for liking femboys and questioned whether or not I was really straight. I kinda took that to heart and decided to look at the binder of dudes in earnest to see if I liked any of them. To be honest, I'm really glad I did. Most of the dudes were unattractive as expected, but I found a dude on there who I legitimately think is cuter and more feminine than the vast majority of girls I've seen. I told my mom I liked him and she kinda joked around asking me what the point of being gay was when I wanted a dude who looked like a girl anyways. She talked to his parents, we had a meeting set up over Zoom and overall it went really well. We have a bunch of common interests, we're both massive weebs and history nerds, and he also disclosed that he apparently cross-dressed in private, which only made me like him more. In the end, though, we both decided we didn't want to rush into marriage and wanted to do a dating trial run of sorts. I told my parents and they were fine with it. My dad literally just told me that as long as we have marriage as an eventual goal and don't have sex before marriage, they didn't mind if we dated. Y'all, literally this whole shit show could have been avoided, though I'm kinda glad it wasn't. Luckily he lived in the same state as me, but he was still a 3 to 4 hour drive away, so mostly we've just had Discord calls and spent time together gaming for the past few weeks. This Saturday though we finally managed to meet up in person and have a date, and honestly I think I'm kinda in love. Dude's cuter than any girl I've ever met, but unlike most girls he's actually into the same things I am. Anyway, we ended up having a great day out on Saturday and I ended up staying at his place over the weekend, though surprisingly I kept my promise to my dad and somehow avoided having sex. Anyway, yeah, I'm now back home and extremely happy with my decision to lie to my parents. Then again, is it really lying if it turned out to be true? I really do like him and will probably ask him to marry me a couple of months from now if nothing goes wrong.